Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning magazine. We're going back to 1976. It was a very warm summer. In fact, it was one of the hottest summers ever. But we didn't think it was the end of the world then. It was just really hot. I hadn't been at work long. I was saying almost about to say school, but I left school in summer 75. And as some of you know from seeing my kind of playlist videos, my early years as being an apprentice electrician weren't happy ones. I was basically bullied at work and I wasn't happy. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was working in terrible factories. Music was my escape pod. It gave me a glimpse into a different world of what could be and what was going to be. It gave me the courage to move forwards. Now, one of the massive albums in 76 for me, and I know you're all thinking I'm about to say Boston, but it was another one. It was Rainbow Rising, which I've done a separate video about, which you can find within the channel or on the Now Spinning magazine website. And I played side 2 of that album endlessly, Stargazer, Light in the Black. And I'd gone to a friend's birthday party in Ladywood in Birmingham. And I can't remember if I'd taken my copy of Rainbow Rising. Probably unlikely that I did, because I was very precious about my records. But so many people had that it'd been put on the kind of record player a lot. Records at parties, not a good mix. But anyway. And an older guy came up to me and said, I don't know why you're playing all this Blackmore stuff. It's all diddly, 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 diddly. He said, you want to play something like the new Boston album? And I was aware of the band on the outer orbit of my life because of the track More Than the Feeling, which was gathering traction. I hadn't bought it, but I'd heard it. And it was, I liked it. I loved the lyric. Woke up this morning, put some music on. The kind of Louis kind of riff hadn't connected to me immediately, but I was, I was aware that it was different. We're on the cusp here of like Kansas, Foreigner, this kind of like feel, and Boston are amongst that as well. And I said, well, yeah, I'm aware of it. And he said, no. He said, and he'd got a copy of the record at this party, and this was a party where the music was on loud, and he said, I'll put something on. He said, I'm going to put on Foreplay / Long Time. And I just thought, okay, Foreplay. I thought it sounds a bit risque, but he puts it on, and I was mesmerised. That kind of ding, 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 and it was like this prog, complexities and stuff. But it was the cinematic, the film-like painting of sound that was coming at me, that was like nothing else I'd heard. I was used to kind of like Zeppelin, Purple Sabbath, all kind of like Wishbone Ashes, the kind of drums, vocals, everything sits in its place. But this was outside of the box, and Ritchie Blackmore had kind of, in my mind, had mastered this sliding your plectrum down the guitar strings to get that, that kind of rocket type sound moving down from the upper reaches to the low reaches. He kind of got that. But this had that, but it was like special effects. It was like Star Wars in its execution, and when that kind of the foreplay bit holds back, and this echo laden guitars moving across the speakers, when stereo was stereo, not 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, really all the way from one side to the other. And then it comes in with the song, Long Time, and just bass, drum, and the kind of guitar. I mean, it's like a guitar sound from the heavens. Boston had a unique sound, and Tom Scholz's guitar sound is like those lead lines. They were obviously overdubbed and played in sync with each other, but just so enormous. And the melody, the vocals, the backing vocals sounded like lead vocals and vice versa, and the songs were just so rich and expansive. When we got to the end of that, I was sold on it, and the next day I went out and got this. This is my copy from 1976. Now, it wasn't a perfect album, but in those days, you have the phrase now, no all killer, no filler. You didn't really have that back then. I think there was a lot of expectation somehow that there might be one or two tracks that weren't as good as some of the others, and that was just life. Seriously. That was the case for a lot of things, so there were things in like Rock and Roll Band was a bit kind of like cliche perhaps, Let Me Take You Home Tonight. Smoking to me was a bit of a boogie track with a very John Lordish kind of Hammond organ solo in the middle. However, Peace of Mind with that staccato kind of riff halfway through, and those guitar lines, again, those melody lines are so... guitar lines you could sing. Guitar lines so powerful, so rich, that when I put my own guitar on, it sounded like these weedy little lines, but this is like expansive. And Hitch a Ride, Something About You, which is one of my favourite tracks off the album. And of course, More Than a Feeling started to, because again, part of the sequential list of tracks here, it became the album that it became. This was a promo CD version from I don't know when. And it wasn't remastered, because why would you? Because that's the other thing. Most of this, technically, were demos that Tom Scholz had been in his basement pulling together. It also shines a light in this period of time of rock and roll existence, that everything that came along wasn't like anything that had come along before or was going to come along later. 10 years from this, 1986, probably because of the Berklee School of Music, lots of guitarists were learning the same techniques and having the same pickups and the same amplifiers and everything else, and things started to become more narrow. But at this point in rock history, everything that came out didn't sound like anything else. And I think this becomes more apparent when I look back through the lens of time into the 70s, that wherever you go, whatever band, if you go through, if you separate it all out and you scan across it, whether it's pop, rock, funk, jazz, heavy metal or hard rock, whatever, everything is different. Everything has got a different sounding vocalist, a different sounding guitarist, everything, even the drummers, everything about it. And Boston just sits there. Now, it will be the subject of another video if we talk about the next album or the one after that or one after that. But for this one, there was a time, probably in the 80s and 90s, where I kind of left it on the shelf. I'd felt like I'd played it to death, and I kind of like moved further away from it. In more recent years, I'm playing it more and more often. And I think now, just like then, when I was 17 years of age, I appreciate it now just as much as I did when I was 17. In fact, I played it last week in the car, and as it was playing, I just thought this album is so amazing. It is so different. To this day, it sounds, nothing else sounds like it. Tom Scholz, I think this shows how perhaps different it was. He came out with the rock box, I think. I remember he devised something where you could sound like him, and I don't think it sold that well, because back then a lot of musicians thought, why do I want to sound like Tom Scholz? Because Tom Scholz sounds like Tom Scholz and I want to sound like me. I think probably in the late 80s people probably would have signed up for it. But I think he had an original sound. Obviously the guy's still around when I say he had. But I think it stands out. It was so successful. I mean, look at the cover. A lot of people didn't realise they were guitars designed as spaceships in the beginning, but they are, obviously they are. I mean, everything about it, it's sci-fi, because it was so out of this world, and it still sounds out of this world to me. That is Boston, from 1976. Timeless music. absolutely fantastic in every way. So thank you for watching, thank you for being here. Remember, music really is the healer and the doctor. Take care, please subscribe, and I shall see you all very, very soon.